Welcome, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Another show, Bob Wire Podcast. We're in different locations, as you can see. I also got a special guest here also with me. I got my brother V with me. I also want to tell you guys, can you please like, subscribe. Let's keep this thing going. Let's keep this thing growing. Didn't get an episode out to you guys last week, but we're going to rectify that. You know what I'm saying? Our producer, slacking. It's all right. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get ourselves out there. And just keep getting this message going.
Okay, black on black, my thoughts so black, I'm black, my skin is so black, I'm rocking that black on black is...
First things first that I want to kind of talk about. Brother V.
Yes, sir.
So, we have the elections, right?
Yeah. We did, huh?
Let me ask you, leading up to it, I'll say maybe, let's say a week before, where were you leaning at? Who did you feel was going to win that?
I mean, I was encouraged that Harris would.
Yeah.
I was part of a Get Out and Vote campaign initiative, and it seemed like it was reaching people. Fast forward a week later, and it almost seemed like a lot of people had their minds made up before that week even got there. So
yeah.
I mean, which is fair, but I mean, I did have hope and was encouraged that she might pull it out. I knew it was gonna be close.
Oh, you felt it was going to be close?
Felt it was gonna be close, but
right.
thought she'd be able to pull it out. But,
you know, when it was all going on, literally up to the day is when the day of the election. I think I had like a little bit of butterflies in my stomach, but I had felt pretty strong,
of course,
like leading up to, right? Mm-hmm. So I totally didn't expect for us to falter the way that we did. What do you feel might have got us to the point where we lost so badly, so to speak? Speaking
to a couple of co-workers, people are have engaged with the conversations like that, and I literally have people telling me, I don't want to vote for either one of them. I mean, at the end of the day, it's happened, and 45 is going to be 47.
Yeah. And
I say the same thing now I said then. I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
The career I have, it actually almost benefits for him to be in office. In construction and building. It's good. I'm comfortable where I work. Comfortable, nice salary. Wife does well. I do well. And that's my thing. I'm not worried about myself. I'm worried about those that aren't doing well. Those that are in the city, and they have to worry about now going from uptown, downtown, and paying $11 to do so.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not even being able to ride on the train because, I mean, now, and I'm pretty sure he's probably going to get something like that later, so I'll just get on and off for that. But, I mean, not even being able to be comfortable in this city, and you used to have what we consider like safe zones.
Okay.
And if you're downtown, you're going to be okay. It's going to be, more comfortable to be relaxed.
Because usually that's an area that's not what we would perceive as lawless when you're downtown in Manhattan.
Right, and now it's the main area.
Yeah, where things are popping off.
And it's just to the point where I'm just scared for this generation coming up, because they're the ones who are gonna have issues with pre-existing conditions bothering them. Our parents that you're talking about.
Yeah.
They're gonna be the ones having problems with pre-existing conditions.
Absolutely.
Child care. Not even health care, but more just the programs that's gonna help these younger kids, younger adults. They don't understand the seriousness of how somebody being in office can affect things like that until it happens. It's almost to the point where they wait for it to happen, and then it's a reaction. It's always what do you call it? Like a boomerang reaction. It's like
for every action is a reaction, right?
Exactly.
A reaction that's going to come back. I don't know how that's going to hold for everyone. You know, obviously, I'm in similar trade with you. You know, I'm an electrician for all those who don't know. That's the day job, and I'm a union electrician, right? This is what concerns me as far as with Trump being in office. As far as being in that trade, yeah, I'm in a skilled trade, right? But my concerns is as a union worker that I understand how unfriendly he is to union labor, right?
Absolutely.
And when you know, he's a big right to work guy, so that means that they really want to break the backs of unions, right? So when I would hear a lot of my union brothers sit there and say, "Oh, Trump would be good for us. He's going to get these migrants out of here, this and that," and he's selling us a dream. He is not a friend to labor. I think there's a lot to have to that I think when we look back on it, when we look at Biden's presidency, we're going to look back at it far more fondly than we are right now,
I
right?
think so.
Because he was friendly to labor, nonetheless. I did not. I was, like I said before, guys. You know, I'm a Bernie Sanders type of person. I'm a progressive, and obviously Biden, when you know he was running. He's a moderate, he's centrist, right? So I wasn't really that happy with him, but I was going to vote for him irregardless, right? Because the other option is Republican, and that's not an option as far as I'm concerned. So I got in line, even though my guy, Bernie, didn't make it. I got in line, and I did the thing, and I voted blue, right? And then I must admit, Biden surprised me. You know, when he sat there and he went out there on the picket lines with the union labor. It's the last time we ever seen a president go out there, picketing with striking with the workers. You know, that really surprised me. You know what I'm saying? He did try to take care of student debt loans. You know what
I
I'm
think
saying?
Carter was like the last one, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that was actually.
And I know that just by fact of reading.
Exactly, because you know when we look back at his presidency, he was hated during his time, right? And then you look back on him, you know, very fondly. Carter had a very good administration.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know, at the end of the day, so. I think we're going to have that same effect when it comes to Biden. These next 4 years, I think people are going to be screaming to kind of return back to that form of normalcy, right?
But how many times do you have to have it happen to?
Well, I think it's because we live in the United States of amnesia. We don't learn nothing. That's why you know we don't do any better. You know what I'm saying? You know, and that's our biggest problem. And it's just there's such a great emphasis on removing history out of school, right? Changing it, particularly, which I'm segueing into our culture, black folks in America. You know, you see what's going on in Florida with the DeSantis and the way they literally want to rewrite the way history was done. They want to kind of soften the blow of chattel slavery, make it seem or appear like these were just forced labor. I think that's one of the names they wanted to use for slaves, for enslaved people rather. Call them forced labor force. I mean, I'm like, how ridiculous is that? You know, you're literally trying to change this, but then they're saying things in regards to that. They want to make sure that their children don't grow up feeling guilty, you know, for something that they had nothing to do with. And I'm like, that is still no reason to change history. You know what I'm saying? This is what happened. We can't soften what happened. Right. Chattel slavery in America was a very ugly thing.
Right.
And we have to atone for that, right? Jim Crow era was a very ugly era. We can't just all of a sudden turn back the hands of times and change it and make it seem like this was just a few isolated incidents. No, it was a systemic thing put in place. And it's documented and it should be learned, you know? And I don't think that has to mean that now you hate every white person because of what took place prior. You know what I'm saying? But it still needs to be known.
And I don't think it has to do with hate of it. I grew up majoring in history. And one of the reasons that really brought my attention to history was around the 7th, 8th grade when we were learning about Christopher Columbus. And I mean, common sense kind of told me that the way that happened, it wasn't a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You know, we're paying attention to what the good old Pilgrims did. Well, what about the people they displaced? They were here first. And I mean, again, it goes back to why I like history is you want to know what's going on now, you must know the history. Everything's going now. I mean, even going to Iran and Iraq with Israel, there's a history behind all of that.
Absolutely.
You know, everything happens for a reason in the history of this world. I mean, bottom line is religion.
Yes.
So when you understand that they came over from being persecuted religiously in England to come over and persecute people themselves
Okay.
in the name of God.
Yes.
Witch hunt, things like that. You know, blasphemy when it was suitable for them.
Yes.
And again, I was a younger person that was engaged to want to know more. And again, now I don't think there's a necessity in people in this day and age to care.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of things are put in front of our face where when it was recognized back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, something was done about it, and it feels like it's not. It feels like we got 5 minutes of fame.
Yeah.
Things happen like what happened in Minnesota, 5 minutes, and then we forget about it.
Yeah,
We remember a
absolutely.
name,
Yeah.
we don't finish the cause. You know, things that are happening.
Great starters with terrible
I
finishes.
mean, make America great again. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Do we spend time to really understand what that means? It's like you hear it, you have a little water cooler conversation, and then everybody goes about their lives. Whatever that cause is for the moment, it's for the moment.
Yeah.
And we don't have the people anymore to fight. So if I hear a number like you told me as far as with those of my parents being 50-50, it might be some of them is tired of fighting.
That's true.
It might be some of them that just said, you know what? Why wasting my time on hoping that these generations behind me are going to
Pick up
have
the
that
pace and keep
same
going.
zeal that I had?
Yeah.
And I feel that way. You know, again, you a no vote is a yes vote, and
Absolutely.
they don't think about it like that.
Yeah.
They think about it like my standards. I was somebody that Bernie Sanders grew on me. You were just speaking about Bernie Sanders. He grew on me
Yeah.
to the point where, you know, I still was looking toward Hillary.
Yes.
But I mean, a lot of things he was saying was making sense, and he made you see that sometimes there are going to be people, you know, that can make you delve into consideration of not looking at the blue or the red. I mean, the last person that jokingly did it was Ross Perot, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
exactly.
I mean, but Bernie Sanders wasn't a Ross Perot. He was serious.
Exactly.
And it was something that was being considered by people as a threat.
Yeah.
And I mean, at the end of the day, maybe it would have been great again for him to put his hat in the ring.
Yeah,
during
and
this
they made
campaign,
another run at it.
You know, and make a run at it. But I mean, he didn't. So I mean, again, at the end of the day, it's just our future. It's so many things I see happening around that they just don't care about standing up for. You know,
Let me ask you, what would you label yourself politically? As far as I know, like I say, I'm a progressive. You know, when people say, "Oh, you're a Democrat," and I'm like, no, I'm a Democrat on steroids. I'm really to the left, so I'm a progressive. So that's kind of how I label myself. Not a centrist, not a moderate, not a conservative by any means. Is there any particular political label you align with, independent or anything like that?
I mean, I'm definitely toward a progressive Democrat, and actually a coworker who is part of a lot of campaigns in like a lot of the local queens, assemblymen and councilmen, and she is, and I mean, even getting to really understand where they come from, because I mean, to be very honest, I was so used to just Democrat, Republican, Independent,
Yes.
and as time is going on, you know, you hear so many different
Because there's so many
parties
different
created
subcategories within the parties.
Correct.
Yes.
And it's like,
Yeah.
again, you need to take consideration of really understanding, because it's things that affect. I mean, anywhere I go, I grew up in Harlem. My whole life was Harlem, but then I moved out here to Jersey.
Yeah.
And I was became proactive within my tenants association.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Became proactive in understanding who the local politicians were, what they were about, the things they do. Mayor Green, he came by actually in our building one day and really spoke to the people, and it was enlightening to hear that on Wednesdays he opens up his office for people to come and talk to him. So things like that, like just caring to know things like that, it makes you understand. Excuse me. It makes you understand that there are different levels within where people don't want the same old, same old.
Yeah, exactly.
And they want to see things different.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, that's where the fortune of the intelligence that a lot of the generation now has, because they've been afforded that, because the parents have allowed them to go to schooling where parents of the past weren't able to. And again, it gives you the intellect and the opportunity to really have an understanding of what you feel is right, and it should be how you go about standing up for what you feel is right. But I don't think we stand up for it, right?
You know, I feel like there's been, as each generation has went on, I think it's been more of a deficiency with understanding civics in this country.
That's good.
You know, I feel you ask the average person on the street, maybe 30 years or younger, what are the three branches of government? And I think they would struggle to tell you that, right? I don't think that they understand the judicial powers of the Supreme Court and how that may affect them. I don't think that they understand the executive powers and how far that extends to them, right? I think so, because you know, I heard so much of the rhetoric during this election cycle where people were talking about, well, it's the price of eggs, it's the price of bacon, and I'm like, that has zero to do with the president. It doesn't matter who's sitting in the seat. That's not going to really affect the price of goddamn eggs nor bacon. You know what I'm saying? That's you know, a president does not control private industry, and the sales of foods and goods is private. So he can't alter that or change that or make it any lesser. So recently, Trump they asked him a reference to the pricing of food, and he came out and said, well, yeah, there's probably nothing I could do about that. And then people were like shocked and chagrined. And I'm like, I mean, how silly were you to think that he really could have done something like that? You know what I'm saying? And affected those prices.
Well, my thing is, I think it's the domino effect of statements like that and the doing nothing of certain things that is the way where, to a certain extent, it can affect. I mean, if you know, what can I use? With the cattle industry, when you know that it looks like bit by bit is leaving America, and you as the leader of our country don't do something about something with foreign exchange with produce and commerce of trying to bring that back, when your focus is fracking and, you know, things like that, and not remembering all the other things that are important just as well. I think that's when it can sort of be a domino effect with certain things, with produce and little things like that. But
well,
to your point, he doesn't directly affect.
Yes.
You know,
he can, in the sense of the fact of him actually implementing those tariffs that he's talking about. And if he does that, you know, people are not, there's so many people walking around, they really don't understand what a tariff is, and I want to take some time out to explain to some of the viewers that may not understand. The tariffs is not paid by the particular country that he puts the tariffs against. It's the company that buys from that particular country. That company's going to get passed off the tariff, right? And once so I'll break it down in a sense like this: if you've been buying T-shirts from China for $20, and there's a tariff against China now. So now all of a sudden it's going to cost $25 to that supplier. So now it costs him more to buy that same T-shirt. So now he's going to have to offset that cost to who? The consumer. So that's why, you know, I always tell people, tariffs are something that consumers pay for, not the other country. You're not going to hurt China by inflicting tariffs.
Absolutely not, because you think that vendor who has the comfort of the relationship is gonna stop and go to look for somebody else. She's gonna charge us more.
It's just going to charge us more.
More.
Yeah, we're going to pay more as consumers. And now that will affect maybe the cost of eggs, bread, bacon, and clothing, and all sorts of stuff. Even if, like right now, it's like he's going into war with our northern neighbors, Canada. And they're already talking about they're ready to if we inflict tariffs against Canada, Canada's saying we're willing to inflict tariffs against you. We get into a tariff war, the only people that's going to lose is us as the consumers. So that's why I'm like, in a sense, yes, the president could affect, so I may have to step back and say he could affect the prices of things like that, but adversely, because that's the way Trump is coming across with it. He wants to bring into these tariffs, and he's been using his talking point because I think he understands most of his base really don't understand what tariffs are. You know, and really understand the effect that it would have on their life. You know what I'm saying? Also, prices of construction and everything's going to go up, right? And, you know, a lot of this stuff we outsource now. So we have become a consumerist nation. We are consumers now, you know. We don't really build stuff anymore in America. So if we want to start now acting like the bully in the room saying we're going to throw tariffs around, that's going to come back and smack us in our face. So, and that's going to hit us as consumers. And I think that that's something that we have to really consider. And I don't think a lot of people was understanding that during that time. But I want to kind of move to speaking about black men in particular, where black men fell. And like I had said before in a prior video, a lot of props to the black men. 22% of us went towards Trump, right? But we weren't the ones the majority of us went to Kamala. Where do you think things went wrong where we had certain brothers out here, you know, like pumping for Trump?
You know what? Again, 45 became 47 because it was the same old thing. What he did originally caused the concern where people knew we can't deal with that again, so they made an impact. And it came out for Biden. For somebody that, like you said, maybe some people felt one way or another, but they felt like it's better than what we were dealing with for the last 4 years. And I mean, I don't know, it's just a comfortability in this day and age where people just, they don't have that focus continually. Because at the end of the day, I've even heard people, which to a certain extent I do believe this, the president truly doesn't have power anymore. We've changed in a time where it's your local councilman and assemblyman who can have your best interest in that area that's more important and effective, because people don't fully care about other people. They care more about themselves in the area they're in. So you have a lot of people that flock more to what's going on in the area they live or the state they live in. And it's like, so what? Let him do whatever he's going to do. It becomes like entertainment. It becomes, oh, Trump is going to win. And I mean, people aren't taking things like serious. Where we came from growing up with, if you heard a scandal with a politician, things like that were checks on their record, and they would be removed.
Absolutely. It would railroad.
It would railroad their career. They would have to pivot and get a good PR person and step aside for a while or maybe for good. But now, I mean, he has no intellect. No intellect.
He just spouts things off his head.
He just spouts off his head. Comes across as almost childish. I won't say uneducated, but more childish than anything. What his responses, you know. And I mean, we had grown professional people that backed him.
Well, I feel obviously they did for other reasons than your normal Joe Blow or your normal Tyrone or Jerome on the block. I would hear a lot of those brothers in particular would say like, oh, Trump's for us. Trump is about money. He's business. He's that. He's about the loot and all this, and not understanding This man, every business he touched, bankrupt.
Everyone.
Every single thing that
He lives
touched.
off his father's name.
Absolutely.
He lives off his
He's not
father's
a self-
accomplishments.
Absolutely. He's not a self-made man. But one thing I give him is that he sold his perception. Even when it came down to the stimulus check, and everyone was saying he gave us a stimulus check, not aware, once again, because of civics. If you understood what civics was, the House of Representatives, that part of Congress, controls the purse. They're the ones that decide where the money goes, not the president, right? And they were the ones that agreed to let the stimulus check goes out. Trump did not want the stimulus check to
took credit
come out
for
during
it.
that time, but took credit for it.
It
Right?
worked. He was like,
It
oh,
was
that
genius
worked?
in that sense.
Oh, yeah.
I'll put my name on it, you know. So he was able to run the game on everybody, and everyone thinks that.
It was like
he's the reason.
Giuliani and Dinkins. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I'm gonna check boxes of everything he did right and say, yeah, we're gonna finish that.
Yeah.
I did that.
I did that. Yeah, and that's it's so funny too, because I mean he talked about the wall that he built. When you really look at it, I think he only built like 50 miles of wall at the border. He didn't build a real wall, but he's claiming like he built this great big wall. And I'm like, has anyone seen this? Most of it has just been repair. You know what I'm saying? Of the walls that exist. But people fall for it, you know.
And you know what? The wall is, and I'll go back to like the East German wall.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of just what's the word I could use? A image of authority.
Mm-hmm.
To show
A toothless tiger?
pretty much, you know,
Gotcha.
because it's not the wall, it's the people who guard the area.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
So at the end of the day, you could have say you had the capability to spend our money
Yeah.
and build something that long.
Yeah.
But if you're not hiring more border patrol,
What good is it going
then
to
what
do?
good
right?
is the wall?
Yeah.
You're gonna come over the wall. Or
Yeah,
under
anyone
the
could
wall.
get over a wall, right? You know what I'm saying? And we're in the age where, you know, they could use a lot more electronic walls in a sense where you pass certain areas, alarms go off. You really don't even need the wall per se. You would save more money doing it that way, and maybe it gives off a signature location of where the people breached or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So a wall is just it's old. It's ridiculous. That's not really the way to keep people out. We're not in the 18th century anymore. You know what I'm saying? So I always felt that was ridiculous. Now I kind of want to segue also into the immigration.
Well, the step back, intellectually, he is.
Mm.
What has he done to be progressive? Everything he does sends us back. We talk about fossil fuel and
Yes.
walls
Yes.
and make America great again. Going back to, I mean, he's basically just emulating everybody else who did something.
Yeah, prior
before
to
him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I mean, at the end of the day, he's not being progressive. So again, we as people have to show the intellect that we supposedly have to understand what this man is doing.
That he wants to take us back
I mean,
into town.
I don't care what advantages or anything that he could do to sway anything in your, because I understand favors go with favors in policy and politics, but I mean, what really could he do that these intelligent, accomplished Republicans couldn't have done themselves and found somebody else to run?
Okay, black on black, my thoughts so black, I'm black, my skin is so black, I'm rocking that black on black is